All right. Welcome back to the JR Real Estate Show. And on this show, the goal is to help you with the right knowledge in order to make profitable and safe real estate investments right here in Nigeria. And my name is Jeff Anozie, and this is my colleague, Barrister Raymond Ijeomah, right? And we started a series on how to know genuine lands in Nigeria. We started a series on how to know genuine lands in Nigeria. And this actually is the part 2, right? So sit back, relax, and grab all the information because I can't even believe this is for free, right? So grab all the information you need, So on the last episode, if you missed that episode for anything, you need to check around this channel and you get to see the video, okay? And by the way, if you're new on this channel, please hit that subscribe button, like this video, and turn on the notification bell so you get to know whenever we release this type of very informative yet free videos right here on this channel, right? So the last episode, we talked about how to know genuine land in Nigeria. We began a series on, on how to buy, like the process in which you buy real estate in Nigeria. We try to, highlight the intro part, that's the pre-purchase part, which is how we started how to know genuine lands in Nigeria. And then next, we're going to be talking about, now that you're about to buy, that you're done with this part, what do you now do? Like in purchasing, what is the right kind of documentation you need and all of that? That is the next thing we're going to talk about after this. And then finally, at the end of the purchase, how do you perfect, all right, your purchase, or how do you make sure that the land you bought stays yours? And today, we're talking about the part 2, in which we try to explain to you the 3 basic steps to take in order to do due diligence. So one of the ways you get to know is by doing your due diligence. So a lot of people get confused whenever they hear due diligence, all right? So this is the episode where we take it a step further in explaining to you the 3 basic stages of due diligence. We talked about the legal phase, right? Where you go to Ministry of Lands or Land Registry to inquire about the status, the legal status of that particular land or property, all right? And then number 2, we talked about the corporate/individual search, right? This is where you go to search for the corporate entity that is selling the property, or the individual or community or family, all right, that is selling that particular property. And we said that for a corporate entity, you just need to go on a website we highlighted then to check if they are duly registered. And we'll use example of Fortreal Rei Ltd company, right? We did a search where we actually showed you that we are a very registered legal entity in Nigeria. And you can literally go and check out any other company at all on that website. For the individuals, right, we highlighted that you actually need to go to the place, go to the property. If you're not in the country, you can send someone to go there and inquire, all right? Make inquiry, for the owners of that land, right? And then finally, we talked about the physical due diligence, right? And we said that it's important you get to the property itself to get to see if you like the place, if you like the environment, if there are any signs or placards or signages on the property that raises red flags, right, as it were, or if you like the road to the place, or if you like the environment in general, right? So these are the 3 basic steps or stages, right, that we try to highlight when it comes to doing your due diligence on a particular property, okay? All right, so today, drum rolls, we're going a step further to talk about we're going to the stage 2. So my colleague and friend is going to be sharing some insightful, pointers, all right, or some insightful areas or aspects, right, from his legal point of view and from a business, a real estate entrepreneur's point of view as well, on how to know genuine lands in Nigeria. As we welcome Barrister Raymond Ijeomah. All right, sir.
All right, everybody. Hello. I've told Jeff not to refer to me as Barrister Raymond Ijeomah. He doesn't. It's okay. It's okay. My name is simply Raymond Ijeomah, and I am a property lawyer as well as a real estate entrepreneur. And I wish he can just do that simply and not add barrister to the name, right? But it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I would forgive him simply because he did an amazing job in our last episode. He did an amazing job, and
Thank you,
he
sir.
really enlightened us on very important factors to consider or things to know to determine a genuine land. And what I'm simply going to do as his boy is to just add pour more water to his already filled drum of knowledge and experience. All right. So
Awesome.
I'd start by saying that you should, while considering or going about finding out whether the land is genuine, you should find out whether there's a covenant running with the land, whether there is a covenant running with the land. That's a little legal, right? But I will explain. What that simply means is that when you go check out the land, it's possible that the land cannot be used for residential purposes. That is a reality. It's something that we get to meet every now and then. I remember this property I helped, or I did documentation for rather, that it was 10 hectares of land, acres rather, not
Wow.
hectares, 10 acres. And in the course of doing investigation, it was revealed that that land cannot be used for residential purposes. And as a matter of fact, when you are going to, or as time goes on, when development comes into the area, there are certain things you have to do to convert that land to a residential, for residential purposes, right? If we hadn't taken such steps to carry out investigation, we may never have known that. And say we end up selling that land to somebody else, that person will not know. So here's the importance of a covenant running with land and why it is important to know before buying. So although part of what I did for my client in that documentation was to state that the land was for all and sundry purposes, of which the other party signed. The fact that he signed it shifts the intent because they already signed that the land is for all and sundry purposes. So it means that my client, by virtue of that title document which he had signed, it means that he had given the land to my client for all and sundry purposes, which includes residential building and whatever, right?
Wow.
However, to be fair, in law we say he who comes to equity must come with clean hands, right? But to be fair, they have told us that the land cannot be used for residential purposes. So say, for instance, my client wants to sell to another person. It makes sense to let that person know that this land is not for residential purposes. It is simply for farming. And such should or may have been included in the title document. That is actually the right thing to do. Include that covenant in the title document so that the person buying after then will know that, okay, this land cannot be used for this purpose except certain factors or certain things are done, right?
Okay.
So beyond that title document, you should find out because you may never know. Ask certain questions. So say, for instance, there's a place here in Benin that I was searching for a property, and I realized that in the whole of that region, they don't allow you to build a story, build an upstairs. You just build a bungalow. And so if you want, your intent is to build a 3-story building, then that is the wrongest place to buy land. Sorry, I'm using the word wrongest, but that's the wrongest place to buy a property or buy a land rather, because you won't, the custom and the covenant running in that environment says that you can't build a story building here. So if you end up buying a property in that area without knowing, then you are either going to sell or be forced to build without with a defeated purpose in mind. So that's part of the investigation you are supposed to carry out and ensure that you are investing in the right place or purchasing property in the right place for the right purpose.
Correct.
Right?
Wow.
So
wow.
So that's
So is this
for,
covenant always written on the title document?
Sometimes it is, at other times it is not. Sometimes it is. For instance, the one I talked about, I didn't put it there because my focus at the time was to protect my clients, which is why I said the land is for all and sundry purposes, right?
Okay.
And I wasn't looking forward to sorting out. And to a large extent, the client wishes to use it permanently. So what they said was that as time goes on, when they are ready or development comes to that area, you could just relinquish like 1 acre or 2, or you give them the financial equivalence, give to the company, and then they'll make it permanent, right? So apart from it may be in the title document, but it's usually advised to put it in the title document, especially when it is a very serious one. This one, the reason I allowed it to go that way, I tried to protect my client's interest, is because number one, he already had it in mind. He has it in mind to maintain the land permanently, and then he already, based on the fact that information had been reviewed, already started having discussions to make the land permanent. But usually it should be stated in the title document. But when it is not there, you just have to find out and be aware.
Beautiful. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Awesome.
In fact, at other part of what you could consider as a covenant running with the land is the road. So by this is custom, but to a large extent it has been legalized. So for some places you have 30 feet as a road, while after every 2 plots you have, say, 15 feet as a lane, right? That is a custom. Or in an estate, that is a custom or covenant running with that estate. So you cannot unilaterally wake up and say, okay, I'm buying 4 plots, and you end up blocking the entire place. Or you buy 10 plots and you end up locking the entire place. And the people don't have access to their own land, right? So in as much as you are purchasing more, or you have a higher a stake in the transaction or in the properties in that area, you must obey the covenant running with that land. So you could also have some form of expressions with a road. You get so that's it, sir.
Wow, awesome, deep information here. Awesome.
Okay, I think we should go to the next, right?
Next point.
Okay, next point. Okay, I like to always say that property investigation pre-execution. Okay, let me explain that. You find out whether the land is genuine, right?
Okay.
And then you do documentation, which is the part where you prepare your own title. By the day you get to sign it, or the process of signing, both parties are signing, is referred to as execution, right?
Okay.
Now, before execution and before documentation, I like to consider investigation to be 2 parts. And the 2 parts in question are the parts where you get to investigate the land itself, as well as investigate the documents of the land. Because just like this video is separated into 2, consider Mr. Jeff as the property, and please consider me as the title document. We are both important to this partnership.
Yeah, sure. Oh, awesome.
Just like the document is important to the property, and the property is important to the document. So whilst finding out if the property is genuine, do well to find out that the document is also on point, right? So that's how it works. So whilst doing physical investigation, if the land has a CFO, I think Mr. Jeff already talked about that in the last episode. If the land has a CFO, while checking out the property physically, if the land has a CFO, you apply for a search. And how do you apply for research? You could do that through your lawyer. You simply, there's a fee that is usually paid, and you submit a document alongside an affidavit to the Ministry of Lands or the Information Geographic System, depending on the state where you are. And then a search is reviewed. If it doesn't have a CFO, you can't do that, right? And that's where further physical investigation comes into play. Okay, so property investigation as well as title document investigation. Two key areas of pre-execution investigation that you must carry out, right? And part of what you should consider when doing investigation for pre-execution or during the pre-execution process or pre-documentation process is that you should find out the parties in the title document. So I'm shifting a bit to the title document now. And for that, you should consider whether the parties that sign the document are proper parties. You could have a title document that was signed or prepared by an organization in quote that is not registered. In other words, it doesn't have a corporate entity, a corporate personality rather, right? At that point, that party in that transaction is incompetent. So in other words, one can largely say that that transaction itself is incompetent because there was no capacity to transfer title. So you check that out in the title document. You also check out in the title document if I'm trying not to so that we can. Let me just flow with my thoughts. You check that out importantly, and then even according to our Land Use Act, that's one. Number two, according to our Land Use Act, someone below 21 should not be granted title as a C of O and all of that, right? So generally, a minor doesn't have the capacity to transfer title or take possession of interest in title, except there are exceptions to that. But where the exceptions are not the case, generally they do not have the capacity to do that. So that's a capacity issue. That's a proper party issue, which are things that you should check out in the title document beyond physical investigation. And that's two. Thirdly, are the documents properly signed? Are the documents properly signed? If the documents are not properly signed, that is an issue. I remember there's this, I don't know if I've talked about that or shared that story on any of these on our episodes, where I talked about a colleague that already bought a land. As a matter of fact, I was actually with him in the course of doing the whole thing. Like, he told me he wanted to get a land, and at the end of the day, he got the land without letting me know. He paid a sum of 1 million to the client in question, the person he bought from, and on the basis of, I know this person I know him. Yeah, I know him. We know, Okay, let me not get emotional. But let me.
By the way, if you're just joining us here on the JR Real Estate Show, and today we're talking about how to know genuine lands in Nigeria Part 2. We're talking about how to know genuine lands in Nigeria Part 2, and basically we're just talking about how to carry out due diligence on a property. How do you carry out due diligence on the property? And if you've not watched the other episode, that's the episode 1, I strongly suggest you go and watch it so that you can add this information to that. And by the way, if you're new on this channel, please hit that subscribe button, like this video if you like it, and let us go on, sir.
All right. Thank you so very much. Okay, so back to what I was saying. I was saying that back to the story. So eventually made the documentation, and then he reached out. He brought a document. I looked at the document and I realized that the first thing I saw was that there was no signature on it.
Wow, at all.
Second thing I saw, I asked them, there was no signature on it at all, right? And the document in question was, but somewhere it was prepared, or the date on the document was somewhere around 10 years back. And the second thing I saw a name on it, And they're like, okay, so who is this person on this document? Who is this person? Who is this person? And my client in the contest said he didn't know. I was like, this name, is it this name that you paid money to? He said no. And it brings back to memory the most common principle of law as far as property law is concerned that I've discussed with us over time, or I've said the laws on this show. Jeff, do you remember?
Yeah, I remember. You can't give what you don't own.
Exactly. Smart student. Sorry. Smart partner. Okay. I think that was right. Smart property law student. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, sorry. Okay. So he, at that point, certainly couldn't give what he did not have because title was not in his name at all. Money went to the account of A while title is in B. How does that work? It doesn't work. So I told him, I asked to speak to the person who sold the land. And then, in the course of asking him a couple of questions, that was when he revealed. First of all, he told me that the person whose name is on that document is his father, like father. And then, at the end of the day, I was like, okay, we want to see him. It was in the course of enforcing our intent to see him that was when he revealed that the man was dead.
Oh.
I'm like, okay, since this man is dead, he now said the family gave him the land, right? Now, okay, first of all, it is not this man that gave you this land directly. You are saying the family gave you the land, and apparently that could be referred to as allocation. So if the family allocated this land to you, then the first thing that should be done, because there should be a flow from the old man to the family, then from the family to you, from you to my client, right? So even though the old man was dead, by way of custom, we could now connect that by way of custom, the family now possess the right based on maybe inheritance, or the first son could inherit, but possibly the first son had taken a share and the man had other lands remaining. So by virtue of that, family now shares or allocates those other lands to certain individuals within the family or young men in the family. And since that is the case, to a large extent, it is also advised that sharing or allocation will now be prepared. The document will be prepared in that regard, where the principal members of the family will sign allocating that land to him. Then based on that document, deed of allocation, my client will now buy from him, right? That is the smart thing to do legally. But at the end of the day, where I'm going is, at the end of the day, he couldn't, till date, he said he was going to get about, as a matter of fact, I volunteered to, alongside the payment that my client made to me, to prepare the document connecting him and the family. But to date, I don't know what's going on as far as that transaction is concerned, right? So here's my point, or that led to the story. You should really find out if that document is properly executed. Was it signed? So I already said that the document was not signed, which was a problem, right? So was the document properly signed? That is a factor you should consider. Then also, you should consider whether there was a thumbprint on the document or a signature with a pen, right? Now, usually, by law, when you see a document facially, like just see it on a peripheral basis, and you see somebody's thumbprint on it and not a signature, there's an assumption that that person is an illiterate. And because of that assumption, it is expected that when preparing your own document, if that person is still going to maintain the usage of a thumbprint, then something we refer to as an illiterate jurat should be prepared, where you would have to state that this particular person was interpreted to in English in a manner that he understood and knew what he was doing before he thumbprinted. If this same person is blind, there's also should be a blind person jurat on the document, right? Because he thumbprinted and he didn't sign. So yes, you should, and then to corroborate, this is usually most of the time not done. but to corroborate to give strength to that property, to corroborate, because anybody could wake up and say, oh, he was an illiterate at the time, or he's an illiterate, or he's blind, and he did not know what he was doing.
Yeah.
Right? So at that point, it makes sense to now carry that property to a notary public to sign.
Okay.
And who is a notary public? A notary public is someone who is a lawyer, first off, and then there are qualifications that he would have carried out to now make him a notary public and under the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So it's, forgive me to use the word by way of simple explanation, it's a special kind of lawyer, right?
Okay.
And that gives him right to sign certain documents or endorse certain documents. So by virtue of his endorsement, so here's my point. My point basically is that find out if that document is proper. I already talked about proper parties. I already talked about that the proper document is properly signed.
Signed, yeah.
The parties involved, right? So I think that should be that as far as the title document. Of course, we are in previous episode, we have talked about the importance of having the title document properly prepared and what constitutes a good title. Okay, no, we've not talked about that, Jeff. We will have to do that subsequently.
Okay,
what constitutes a good title document? Yes, what constitutes a good title document? So back, okay. So that's that. Okay, then find out if you have access road. I believe Mr. Jeff already talked about that. Then be sure you are taken to the right address. They could be telling you that the land is in Lekki, and then at the end of the day you are somewhere else. And try and find out ask questions as per the address of where you are, because it's possible to be taken to the good location, and at the end of the day, what to be prepared as per what is going to be signed is the address of another location. Okay, now also find out if the person who, part of your documentation and investigation, find out if the person or the transaction is a proxy transaction. And what do I mean by a proxy transaction? A proxy transaction is a transaction where somebody acts on behalf of another person. And talking about a power of attorney, power of attorney is legally or by law a proxy transaction where you give a power of attorney. So say, for instance, I give a power of attorney to Mr. Jeff to help me sell a particular property, right? And having given power of attorney to Mr. Jeff to sell a particular property, and I have not properly revoked that power, right? Only Mr. Jeff can sell. I cannot sell.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
And then if power of attorney has been given to Mr. Jeff to sell that property, Mr. C or whoever, someone else in that feels that he has the capacity to sell based on whatever reason, cannot sell. Okay, so that's one. The power of attorney must reflect, and when trying to find out do documentation and investigation, you should also find out if that power of attorney is registered, because ordinarily, if a power of attorney is given for the purpose of alienating interest, selling a property permanently to another person, that power of attorney will not be effective except it has been duly registered.
Oh, how do you register a power of attorney?
Simply go to, for example, for a place like Benin, you go to the Board of Internal Revenue, where you do stamping there as well. So depending on your state, but to get that done or find out, you could simply go to your Ministry of Lands or do geographic. Sorry, for a place like Edo, it's also called the Edo Geographical Information System, Edo GIS. I wouldn't know what it would be exactly for, but okay. Basically, go to your Ministry of Lands or any land-related ministry or organization in the state that acts under the instruction authority of the state government, and you'll be able to find out what you need, or they could directly to where exactly you should go to find out or do what you should do. Or the payments basically are made to the Board of Internal Revenue of the state, because it is internally generated revenue issue, right? So for you to find out if that power of attorney or that person really has a power of attorney to carry out such transaction or to sell to you, then you have to ask to see the power of attorney. So from seeing the power of attorney, you could take further steps to know whether that power of attorney is registered. If it is not registered, then it's going to be an issue of proper transfer, because that person, that power of attorney was not registered, and that person did not eventually have the right or the total power to sell to you, right?
Okay.
So secondly, on the same issue of a proxy transaction. So a property is in the name of Mr. Jeff, and then Jeff is my twin brother, or Jeff is my father. We have whatever relationship, or Jeff is my friend. And I wake up and see I have the original title document. For whatever reason, you don't know what has happened behind us. So you have the original title document, and you're like, okay, Jeff said I should sell this property. The first thing you have to find out is ask to speak to Mr. Jeff. And note, you don't know Mr. Jeff, so anybody could have been given the phone to be spoken to. And the person will say, oh, yes, I'm Mr. Jeff. I'm the owner of that property. Yes, it's my own. I bought this so amount some years back, and I want that. And he is my brother. I authorize him to sell for me, right? So anybody could act that drama, and then everything seems to be fine. But there's a deeper stuff, or there's a deeper step that you should take. So when there's a claim to that effect, you should ask that whoever is acclaimed or the acclaimed Mr. Jeff should provide certain information to prove that is who he is. And on the basis of such information that has been provided, there should be a letter of authority authorizing Mr. Jeff to sell for him.
Wow.
Right? So in a situation, I remember there was this incident that we had that a twin brother, the brother was abroad, and the twin brother here in Nigeria was selling his own property. And he sold his own and wanted to sell that of his twin brother as well. And then we insisted that we needed to speak to the twin brother via video call, and that the twin brother would have to prepare a letter of authority for his twin brother here in Nigeria to sell. Whilst doing all of that, the twin brother here in Nigeria was so angry. He was so pissed. What kind of lawyer is this? What kind of is this how it is done? He was very angry. I felt one of it's a day I won't forget as far as pressure from a client is concerned. Like, I felt really pressured to let's just ignore this and move on, right? But at the end of the day, we did the right thing though, but we found out eventually that the twin brother abroad actually wanted him to sell the property. But imagine that the twin brother did not authorize him to do that sale. We could have saved that client a lot of issues, right? Exactly. So that's why it's always good to do the right thing. For such transactions, as a way of knowing whether a property is genuine, if someone is acting on behalf of another, ask to speak to the person who is, and this is usually how it is done. So Mr. Jeff acting under the authority, or acting through his representative, or acting through his brother, or acting through his mother, or acting through his lawful attorney, Mr. That. So ask for the person who is giving that representation, that authority. Try and get a lot of authority from that person and find out if that person indeed gave a power of attorney or authority to the other party to sell that property. So
beautiful. Thank you.
A lot of content already for one day and one episode.
Episode. Thank you so much for this. Thank you for this. I appreciate you, Raymond, Ijeomah. Thank you for this, for sharing this insight. This is the goal of this particular channel and this show, the JR Real Estate Show, is to educate and inform you so that you make wiser, smarter, profitable, and safer real estate investments here in Nigeria. If you have further questions or inquiry, this is Raymond Ijeomah's email. You can send him a mail right here. He will, of course, he will send you his charges. All right. And then he will consult for you and make sure that you have the right information. If you have questions as well, you can send it to this mail or drop it at the end of this video, like in the comments box, so that we can see and respond to that. So this is the end of today's episode. On the next episode, we are going to be taking it a step further to talk about documentation. What should be on a right? What are the right information to be on a document? What should you, when you're paying, rather, when you've concluded that you like the property, what next? All right. So that is the next thing we're going to be talking about on the next episode. If you've not subscribed to this channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. And till we come your way next time, stay safe, stay profitable, and bye for now. Oh, this is Raymond Ijeomah's number. You can also contact him here via call or WhatsApp, and he will ask all the questions you need to ask, and pay your tithe to me. Okay? Enjoy a fantastic day. and bye for now, everybody.